Hi, I'm Chantra Powell, and I'm the Proven Not Perfect podcast host and a best-selling author on Amazon. Do any of these words call out to you? Drive, ambition, doing, leading, creating. These words call many of us, and sometimes to heroic impact. This is all good until we forget about our own self and our own self needs, mainly care. My Village of All-Stars, they not only command position, but they command influence. Well, there's always a backstory. I myself, Chantra Powell, have had to put myself on the sideline a few times, but I'm still in the game. I'm staying in the game. The only thing different about me is that I'm proven not perfect. Enjoy. Hey, Proven Not Perfect. This is Chantra Powell. Boy, do I have a celebration for you this end of February 2024, Black History Month. Man, I saved the best for the end of the month. That's what I did. Because, oftentimes when we think about Black History Month, we naturally go way back, right? Way back. And I think we overlook the very present trailblazers that are among us. And that's who I'm talking to today. Her name is Lauren Daniels. She is a sister mom, sister girlfriend of mine. I had the privilege of meeting her through a wonderful organization, Talk About Black History, that for 84 years has been serving Black families, communities, and our children and other children, Jack and Jill of America Incorporated. And through this process, meeting this new sister mom to me, I've unpacked this fierce, just solidly centered being named Lauren Daniels. So today, Lauren is going to share with us pretty openly her journey as a very highly educated woman who had goals and desires and dreams, as many of us do. And when the time came for her to make a decision on where her priority was, what her focus would be, she chose her family. And you might think that that's just giving up a lot when you've invested so much. We're supposed to do it all. Well, guess what? This lady unpacked a whole basket of goodness by choosing where she felt integrity and where she felt led. And now she is the co-owner of a family business, and she's the owner of a family business, and she's the mom of 4, and she's slaying. Join me in celebrating this woman of God, this trailblazing leader who puts her family first with high integrity. My sister mom, Lauren Daniels. Enjoy. Proven Not. Hey, Lauren Daniels.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, I'm good. I'm so glad to have this conversation with you.
I'm glad too. I'm excited.
Yes. Okay. So look, this is the beautiful thing. We're going to talk about moms who just do it all and integrate all of it together, business and life and ambition and all the things, right, with family. And here you are walking around with your little Zoom screen, I'm sure moving past little people and all the things going on in the Daniels house. So on point and relevant, sis. So on point.
I was like, wait, that cartoon is way too loud. Let me turn it down.
Yes. Okay, Lauren, we have to lay the foundation. Okay. You're a mom of 4. 4?
Correct.
Wow.
Yes.
All right. You're a mom of 4, and you actually decided to go a little bit different route. So tell me how, being a mom, being a wife, how you decided to see your role, in your home. What were your choices like?
So my choices started early on. So now I'm 40, which I can't believe.
40 years young.
40 years young. And then I married when I was 20. So I married pretty young. And after about a year of marriage, we had my first son, Brock Jr. So decisions came pretty quickly for us. Trying to decide what I'm going to do after I have him. Was I going to go to work, or was I going to send him off to daycare? That was the question that we both had. And after looking at everything, we were like, well, I think the best decision is for you to stay home. And so that's kind of what I did. I have a political science degree. So
I know.
So the plan was to go to law school and, become Judge Judy. That was because I loved her. I was like, I'm going to be Judge Judy one day. So that was the plan. And it changed pretty quickly after we had Brock, because I felt like, when I had him, I was like, he's my responsibility. He's mine, and so I wanted to be with him every step of the way.
But how did you? Okay, so you have to answer this, because there are younger women who are sorting out the timing of love in their life with their general desire and drive and ambition to do the thing that's on their heart. For you, it was Judge Judy. For somebody else, it's something else. How did you reconcile that at such an early age? Or did you, keeping it real, did you feel like, I'm choosing the family path and that's more important? And if I have to just kill my dream of doing, something independent, then it's just killed? Did you have the foresight, I guess, is what I'm wondering.
I think it was easy for me to make that choice because my mom stayed home. So she was home with us. My dad carried, everything in the household. So she was home with all of us. There's 5 of us. So I have 2 brothers, 2 sisters. I did want to do something different. So initially, when I was young and I was a teenager, I was like, I don't want to have kids. I just want to, have a career and not be like mom. You get what I'm saying? So that was the mental part of it, thinking that's what I wanted to do. But after I had him, and I did tour daycares, I did do that. And that's at the point where I was like, what? Do I really want someone else raising my children? And that's what popped in my head. And I was like, what can I do? And so there was pressure to choose the opposite, even from my husband. He was like, well, shouldn't you work and make sure you help with, because we were really young. So we really, when you're young, you have no idea what you're doing. Like you're just making choices based on how you feel. Like, in the moment.
I feel love. I feel need. I feel want. Yes, it's all right. Some of us never move past that phase, though, Lauren.
Yeah, it's really hard to move past that phase, but eventually you do if you gain knowledge along the way and you understand what's important. Like you move past the feelings because you have to. Otherwise, it corrupts good decisions. Like, you know what I mean? So just because I felt like I wanted to be something else, at that point, I made the decision to be a mom. So I had Brock. I was like, I have to take full responsibility of that's my job. Like, you know what I mean? So I'm going to do it to the best of my ability, no matter what I see around me. Either if I see my friends, going to law school or doing all these things that I felt like were wonderful, I said, I'll just put a pause on it. And I felt like I would be blessed doing that too. It was kind of like a whole process. After thinking about it, I was like, you know what? If I just wait and do my duty based on what I chose, then I think it'll come back,
Yes, it always does. And that's the part of just going with what you know and believe is the right thing. That's the amazing thing when I watch how people's stories come together and their life unfolds, right? So fast forward, then Brock was just number 1. Then you kept going, right? So
as it's easy to have number 2 after having number 1. So.
Yes. So then number 2, 3, and 4. And I guess the question that I have is, at some point, you started to build a creative interest in doing things that were outside of the home, and you did it inside the home. Is that correct?
Yeah. So what happened was my husband started a civil engineering firm. He's been doing it now for almost 20 years. And I said to myself, I worked for him for 5 years. And I did as a secretary, I did all the invoices, the taxes, things like that. And I worked in his office. So it was almost like at home, there's a head. And then when I was working for him, there's a head. And then at some point I was like, you know what? I think I need to step away from all the headship. And I really wanted to do something for myself. Yeah. So after I had Emmanuel, that's when my husband was like, hey,
Emmanuel's baby number 3.
He's number 3. He's now 12.
Yeah.
And he said, well, how about you put Emmanuel into school for 3 days a week? Because he wasn't ready to go to kindergarten. So my rule was, I'll stay with them. They go to kindergarten. I'll work them through the process of getting through school, make it, do all the field trips and, all the things that moms do typically when their kids are in school and not homeschooled. And so when he went 3 days, he was like, well, you can work for me and, do those things for a little bit. So I started doing that. At first I was hesitant, but I was like, okay, I'll do the 3 days because he wasn't really talking yet. So that was my thing. I'm like, if they can't talk, they can't communicate with me. I don't know what's going on at school. They shouldn't be there. That was my whole philosophy. So he only went a few days. So I was okay with that at that point. And I started working for my husband. And then I was like, but I cooked a lot at home. So I was like always cooking, so I scheduled our meals. I did, breakfast, lunches, all those things. And I used to watch Food Network like it was nothing. It was like
that was your nerve pill with the kids in the house and the husband and the businesses.
Yes, that was my nerve pill. And then I would read cookbooks and do different recipes at home. And originally I did not know what I was doing. I did not know how to cook at all. That wasn't something that I had naturally in me, And so over time I just became more passionate about it. I even tried out for MasterChef.
Did you really?
Yes, I did. So I got to the point where I was like, I think I can do this. I think I can be this self-taught chef and do all these things from watching and seeing and reading all of these blogs and recipes and stuff. So I started, I did I went to Miami and did this whole interview. It was really cool.
Wow. You really did this.
Yes, I did this. Yeah. So then I was like, after a little bit of time for working for my husband, I said, you know what? I think I want to open a restaurant. That was my first jump. And he was like, Lauren, I don't know if that's a good idea.
Now where was baby 4 in this mix?
Savannah was not here yet.
Not here yet. Okay. But you're full on. I'm really enjoying cooking. And I believe I'm good at it. And I want to step out in it. So you try out for MasterChef. Do you get to the runner-ups or anything? Or what was that?
I got to second interview.
Wow.
And I wasn't picked.
That's pretty cool.
But it was really cool. It was a cool process because I got to see what everyone else was doing, what it was like to be behind the camera with a producer and be asked certain questions, and even learning more about myself and how I dealt with people. Because being at home as a mom, you're not around a lot of people.
Yeah.
You're just around kids, so it was very
You're around
different.
2B people and they are nutty.
Yes, exactly. So, so I started learning a little bit by myself and, and that sort of thing.
What'd you learn? Tell me, you show up, you've been a political science degree, so we know you're packing all of it. And you've made this choice to live your life this way, dedicated to your family. Yes. You participate in this process. I would imagine with people from all walks of life, all different experiences, you show up. What did you pull? Your courage, where did it come from to say, I can do this? Because I actually think for a whole lot of women that would have made a choice like yours initially, that would have been a real milestone of a decision to make.
I think for me, the courage came from just people try my food. Me knowing that the food was really good. People were like, oh my God, you did this. This is so, so good. And that confidence builds you up to the point where I want everyone to try my food, So that's kind of where I was. But personality wise, I was still an introvert. so I think for television, they want excitement and crazy personalities. And I'm super laid back and chill.
You are.
So yeah. And I think
which is good.
It's good, but for TV, that doesn't work.
Yeah. Okay. I get it.
They
Everybody's got to be chill. Everybody can't be over the top.
Right. That's true, actually. I was like, why can't they pick me? But I think I was too quiet, too reserved.
Okay.
And I didn't know enough at that point of how to navigate that kind of world. So I wasn't picked, which is okay.
So when you left, not picked, and you learned a lot about yourself, did you say there's something that I want to do later on? Or what'd you learn?
Well, what I learned is that maybe at that point I wasn't ready for, television, like the big scene. So I needed more time, and to hone my skill, to deal with people, that sort of thing. So we used to attend this church here in Estero, and I said, well, honey, why don't I start like a small group? And maybe I can teach people how to cook and what I've learned over the years and, that sort of thing. And that's kind of how the buzz of wanting to teach people how to cook started.
Wow.
So I started a group. It was called Gobble Up the Bible.
Wow.
And so, so it's really cool. And all these kids signed up. And I was like, oh my God, what are we going to do? So I like.
Okay, the theme, Lauren, is yet again you're surrounded by little people. Girl, what kind of penance are you paying?
Well, I knew I was good with kids. Like at that point, I'm like, you know what? I know I'm good with kids. I got 3 of them. So I mean, I'm an expert at that at least. And then food. So those were the 2 things I felt like I was really good at. I was good at being a mom, and I was good at cooking. So I was like, I got to somehow combine those 2 together. And that's kind of how and then I'm a Christian. So that also played a role in like knowing how I could tie food, the kids, and the Bible into all one thing, and it really worked. Like it was a great session. We did like a few sessions after that, and we would get maxed out like every time. Like it was really cool. Yeah.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So here you are, were the lessons that you were sharing things that were practical that moms and kids could do together? Was it sort of with a family bend? Because that really screams of you really knowing your brand, your market.
Yeah, it had a family bend. So everything tied into like Genesis. So I took like, for instance, the Tower of Babel, like the language change. And we were like, we're going to learn about other countries. So we did like different foods from everywhere, like Hong Kong and like, we did like Italy and like all the things that tie into how culture started, like from a biblical perspective. So it was pretty cool. And so I was able to tie that into food, and the parents would come, they would cook with the kids, they would learn something new. They would get the recipes to take home and the Bible study to take home too. So,
wow. Oh my God, girl, that is such a great idea. Okay. So then this leads you to what next?
That led me to opening Little Chefs in Training. So after my husband saw, which he's always like my check, like he's always the person that says, okay, Lauren, what did you just do? Does it make sense? Like, as far as like, my vision and my dream, how it would actually play out into the real world. And he's like, Lauren, I think this is what you should be doing, like on like a real level. And so,
girl, the power of partnership. I talk about that all the time. And I want all of the, young women that are older women, quite frankly, who are considering being yoked and who they're yoked with. Man, you cannot underestimate your choices, because the right one will push you when you don't want to move. They will see what you can't see. They will inspire what is just a spark. Wow, that's so good. So never settle, people. Never settle.
Never settle. That's very true. That's
very true. So here's this man pouring into you, telling you what he sees.
Yes. And when he said that, I was like, okay. He was like, if you start here, maybe it'll eventually get to the restaurant. But I think he's like, I think if you do this, it'll work, because we don't have anything like this in Fort Myers where we were living at the time. And so I just started doing my research, like how to start a business, what's the process of doing that, trying to find a building or a space to do it in, like marketing and like a whole, like, like how to create a logo, like, like the whole thing. And so, because the fact that I was home, I had time.
Yeah.
So that time helped me to figure out exactly, what I needed to do to start a business. Sorry, I had a little bit of a cough. But yeah, that time helped me figure out what I need to do to start a business. And so I sat down with my sister and she helped me create a logo. I had the name, like what I wanted to do, but we had to actually figure out what it would look like. And that's basically how it started. Like me going to her house, like, what am I going to do? And then it like fast tracked into like having a logo, creating a website, what type of classes I want to teach. It just kind of like went so fast after that.
I feel like that is the case when you are in your lane. You know what I mean? I mean, on a spiritual level, as a Christian myself, I find the times when an idea comes gently, sometimes loudly, sometimes, but when it is absolutely the lane that is ordered for me, it just comes. Every single aspect of what I need. It's not hard. It's not hard.
Right.
But girl, let me decide something that's really not what I'm supposed to be doing.
Oh, it's like pulling teeth.
It is. It's a push. It's so not. You feel the work, right?
Yes.
I think the difference for me is when it is really the lane for me, I can work until wee hours in the morning and it's life-giving. The other way around, girl, look.
Struggle. No, that's very true. Yeah, I think when you're on the right path, like where God wants you to be, the path is much easier.
Yes.
And it's very clear if you're choosing the wrong path. Sometimes we fight against it, of course, until we realize it. But then at some point when you're like sweating and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't think this is what he wants me to do. You kind of just give up at that point.
But I have to ask you this because it just hit my mind. So when I think about you being drawn to Judge Judy and drawn to law and a law degree, and think about then what later would come up as the path, the blessed path for you, can you see, looking back, any similarities between Little Chefs as an idea that would spawn into even more that we'll talk about? But can you see any connections between the Judge Judy vision and maybe who you were becoming at that point?
I think just the whole research aspect of it, loving to learn and gathering information is so natural for me. Like, and I learned that over the years, just with kids, like learning about how kids' bodies work and what they need when they're sick and what, like all those things, just reading and learning what I should and should not do based on being a mom, that played into the business aspect. So like if someone asks me a question, I don't have the answer, I'll go easily be able to find the answer based on just doing research. And I love to read. So that was another thing that also helps. Because most people, when they start businesses, they typically go out and outsource, like, oh, I need someone to open up a Sunbiz, go to Sunbiz and open up a business for me. But I did that all on my own because I was just able to find it, like, so I think that part of me with the law still plays in, because as a lawyer, you got to do a lot of research.
Yeah,
You got to have the right answer. A lot of reading, got to have the right answers, so, and there's no mistakes when it comes to being a lawyer, right? So, yeah.
Right. Oh my God, detail. So, okay, so now Little Chefs. Little Chefs is rocking and rolling, I believe.
Yes, Little Chefs is rocking and rolling. And for about 5 years, we did that. And then COVID hit, right? So we had the COVID issue where our kids stopped going to school for like a whole year. And everyone was concerned about their kids being in small groups or even being too close to each other, that sort of thing. So we actually had to close Little Chefs for a little bit. For about a year, I closed because my kids were out of school. But before that, actually, like maybe a year into Little Chefs, that's when Savannah happened. So my last little hoopla, she's 4 now.
Oh,
Savannah Daniels. So she happened. And so while I'm doing classes, summer camps, We used to do a lot of cooking competitions with like Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts. I'm walking around fully pregnant, like doing this thing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is actually happening. So she was my actual surprise in the sense that Emmanuel and her are 8 years apart.
Wow.
So yeah, so it's a huge gap, but she's actually a blessing because the older three are really close in age. So when you have kids that are close in age, they don't have any mercy for each other because they're always like competing or like, it's always some drama. But then when you have a little one that comes into the mix, everyone's like so dedicated to making her feel happy. So they understand what it means to like actually have a child, like, you know what I mean? Like how to love and how to give and how to take care when they're sick, that sort of thing. So they've seen that.
Lauren, you're such an amazing mom. That is so beautiful to think about it that way. It really is.
Yeah. At first I thought it was going to be really difficult. I'm like, I have this business now. We have 3 older kids. How am I going to manage all of this? Because it was just like a monkey wrench. Because I thought, okay, now all 3 of them in school, I have time during the day to do what I need to do, but then she came, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a baby. Like for a whole year, I looked over and I'm like, I have a baby. Like, what is happening?
Girl, I understand that.
Yeah, but so far, I mean, I feel like it's helped my daughter, my son. She loves when they come in the house. It's like she jumps on them, she hugs them. Like her and the younger Emmanuel, they fight all the time. It's crazy because he used to be the baby, so it's like it's always competing. But the older 2, they totally get what it's like to be a mom or dad, that sort of thing.
Oh, I love it. All right, so COVID happens.
COVID happened. I closed Little Chefs because we were all concerned about what was
going on.
You
never thought about doing a Zoom version? Because a lot of people, immediately went to what's a virtual option. You never thought about doing anything like that?
I did maybe like 2 Zoom versions of what we used to do. I did like bakery boxes where the parents would come up and pick up the bakery boxes with the items in it with the recipe. But it sort of just kept fizzling on me. I wasn't getting enough response because everyone was in flight mode. Like no one knew what they were going to be doing. Yeah. So at that point, I was like, what can I do? And we have this space. I'm like, we have this beautiful kitchen. Like, I was like, I can just do takeout. Like, I was like, I can just do takeout. They're only allowing restaurants to do takeout right now. So I create a little menu. I signed up for all the DoorDash and Uber Eats. And I was even a ghost kitchen where like, so crazy.
That was like such a crazy concept in 2020 that I never heard of before. But seriously, on DoorDash, my son was just like, oh yeah, I think this is from a ghost kitchen. What the heck is a ghost kitchen? Tell the people what a ghost kitchen is.
I'm gonna tell y'all. So like, there was 3 brands that we did. The first one was Tyga Bites, which was like, he's a rapper, which he's like a millennial rapper. I don't even know what he raps about. But I picked up this brand, and what they do is, I can't remember the name of the company, but they have like a few brands on their website. You could pick from the brand. If you have a kitchen license, you can cook all the brands, right? So I did Tiger Bites, Mr. Beast burgers, and then Mariah Carey's cookies. Yes. And so during COVID, everyone was on lockdown. They couldn't go anywhere, but you could only really order takeout. Yeah. And so the most popular one was Mr. Beast burgers. And so we used to get like 60 orders a day. Oh my gosh. Nonstop. It was crazy. And I'm like, people really love burgers, or is this like a COVID thing? Like, what is happening? So I was in there slinging burgers for like a whole year. Wow. Yeah. Yes. And I was like,
did they give you the recipe? Did you have to follow their recipe?
So they just gave us the components, like the boxes that you needed, what to buy, like a whole guideline of what to do and what Mr. Beast Burger's concept, what it should look like. You're just replicating someone else's brand, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then DoorDash would come in, they would pick up the order and deliver it to someone with all the packaging, all of the labels.
Wow.
or Mariah Carey's cookies was like, we would bake the cookies. It would be her brand, and we would just ship it out to whoever ordered that day,
Wow.
So it's kind of cool. So that's what sparked in my mind. I'm like, oh my God, if they could do this, I could do this.
That's
I'm like,
right
I'm
on.
going to create my own brand. Like, so I started coming up like a little takeout menu, Southern takeout menu. Cause we have like no Southern food in Fort Myers.
Which is really crazy.
Yes.
Because, there is a population of African American there for sure. But I guess maybe the thing that I often miss is that it is more of an island heritage than it is a deep South, Southern U.S. heritage, right?
Yeah.
And people keep reminding me of that. Like, I think immediately, oh, but it's Fort Myers, right? But it's a very different origin than me, perhaps, being from New Orleans.
That's very true. And then the deep South part of it is more weirdly, like you have more Caucasians that are deep South representing in Fort Myers than you do African American deep South.
That makes sense.
Now
that I'm starting to understand the topography more, I get that. Before moving here, that completely flew over my head.
Yeah, and when we moved from Fort Lauderdale, that was confusing to me too. When we moved here, I was like, where is the culture at? Like, where do we go to even eat Southern food or to go to cultural events? Like, where is that? And it wasn't here that we could find anyway. Now it's gotten a lot better, but yeah, like a lot of my customer base are, they're Caucasian Southerners. Like that's who comes in the restaurant,
Wow.
So it's very different in Fort Myers. It's a different,
It's a different heritage. Because I'm sure to a lot of the the Black Americans that are there with an island heritage, they're looking for the Jamaican or the, whatever. It's different. It's just different. Wow.
It's very different. Yeah. So that when we were closed down for COVID, like we just made a major pivot. It allowed us time to like redo the whole restaurant. Like the front space had murals on the walls of like cooking classes and kids and food. Like we had someone come in and do this big mural and paint this mural. And we covered it all up. And I was so sad. We covered all of it up with wallpaper. I'm like, I'm not painting it over it. I was going to put wallpaper up, So, but we did wallpaper, and we have like in the restaurant, all of these beautiful black and white photos of different jazz singers.
The greats.
Over eras of time, like the 1930s and 60s.
I think Billie Holiday's on the wall.
Yes, Diana Ross. We have Louis Armstrong, Cab Calloway, Sarah Vaughan. So we totally did a pivot. We changed the name. I wrote out some names that came to mind. Southern Charm Bistro. Yeah. So I just kind of took that time to do my research about what was in the area, what we needed in Fort Myers. And that's kind of how it happened, like just writing down those ideas and doing my research. So, and my husband is I don't want to call him my bank, but my financier.
But everybody needs one, right? You've got to, and I'm sure you had to justify the dollars because, being a businessman, being a business person, a business family, there was an opportunity cost, right? So any monies that he's investing in Southern Charm are not being invested in the civil engineering firm or any of the other investments that you could have done. So how did you guys come to agreement that this was ready to go? Like, did you legit pitch and?
Well, I think because so like you said, he's my partner. So any step of the way, like we make decisions, whether they're smooth decisions or whether we're arguing about it, like we make decisions together. He was there when I was doing Mr. Beast. And he was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we just made like $6,000 today. Like, you know what I'm saying? He's like, and then of that 6,000, we would have to give 30% of that to the brand, like back to Mr. Beast, in a sense. So he was like, we should be able to keep all of that. You know, in his mind, he's thinking, you know, so he was like, if you do come up with your own brand, if you do something, let's just make sure we're making that kind of money. Like, that's how he's thinking. So as we sat down and we looked at the numbers, what it would look like to change the lighting and the painting and do the wallpaper, we always, with having a family of four, you always have to have a cushion. So we did have a cushion, and we said, well, we can just do the minimum as far as decorating in the front. The kitchen was already done. We had already spent the major money of doing the space in the back. So it was just more about like the marketing of our space and then the decor. And then getting a beer and wine license, which we do have, that wasn't a major cost. It's just a process, you know? So, we did that, and, I was nervous, of course, to open, and I'm always nervous to do like a big grand opening. Yeah. So like, I just paced myself, and I didn't do like a full announcement till maybe like 2 months after. I introduced the menu. People would start finding us based on our Google page and our website. And they just started coming in, and slowly people started ordering. And I started seeing what people wouldn't order and what they would order, what they liked, what they didn't like. And I would just adjust the menu based on that, you know? So I just gave myself some space, because being new, I was really unsure. Yeah. I wasn't sure what to expect, you know? So.
But you also leaned into the privilege of a financier, quite frankly, right? Because somebody else, you know, who's put all the money in and there's no more money coming, they're thinking about, how do I quickly get to revenue, right? You had the ability to be a bit more organic, which I think was a competitive advantage, quite frankly, because you could adjust around what the market was telling you. That's really neat. So how many iterations did you actually see before you were like, this is it, this is grand, people are coming back, and you start to see the traffic coming through the door?
I would say about 4 iterations, and then the feedback too. So like, what started happening was people, which I didn't expect, but people started doing like all the Google reviews, and they're all like, just the praise of the food and the space and what it looked like. And I was like, oh, wow, like, people actually like my food, you know? So that made me feel great and more confident as we kept going. And then feedback from my husband. So he would try my food, or the kids would try it. Now they're older. They would say, Mommy, this is wonderful. People would love this, you know, and just my family and stuff. So it was very helpful. Because carrying the burden of someone saying they don't like your food is very hard to get through, you know. So
they don't like your anything if you're in business, right? Like, that's you take it personal, rightly so.
Yeah, and I think the fact that I took it personal helped me to make things better that weren't good, you know, and I think that's kind of how the menu over time, just now it's stuck. Like, people love my biscuits.
Yes, they are so good.
Yeah. So that
if
was,
you are coming to Fort Myers, if you are near Southwest Florida, I'm not playing. Seriously. First of all, there's something on the menu that you will probably love, but those biscuits, oh my gosh, I'm pretty sure, like, with one, you know, you not only have a pleasure experience, but you do gain a little weight.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. Yep. And what I do too is, like, I make the jams in house. So I do like a raspberry jam or a blueberry or whatever seasonal fruit there is. So I could do a peach jam. Like, we've been doing mango jam. So like, I try and integrate things into the menu that are very fresh, not too heavy, where you can actually eat it for lunch. You know what I'm saying? And then people call for the biscuits. They take them home. They could take them home frozen or baked, you know? So it's just anything that I do. The menu's not big. And that's because I want to do everything that's on there. I do it well. Like, you know what I mean? I try not to overwhelm myself. But yeah, I think after people started coming in, I was like, okay, now it's time to do a soft opening. Let's just do it. Like, you know, and everything just sort of fell into place at that point. So now it's been a full year and a few months at Southern Charm. Wow. And we have a lot of things that we're going to do that we're looking forward to, like two new projects. that we're super excited about. We're thinking about 2 locations, which is kind of like within a year and a half, maybe have two locations that are more visible, so people can see us more and that sort of thing. And then a biscuit product that we're trying to market to grocery stores. So
excellent. So that's where I was going next, because I was really curious. Coming out of this, you probably now are thinking about, okay, I can start to scale this, right?
Yes.
And you can scale it a couple of ways. You've got 2 great things going on. The experience is just wonderful. Like you really do feel like you're in a Southern, hospitable, intimate setting. So I'm hopeful. I'm putting a plug in as a consumer that Southern charm has to maintain that Southern charm, right? So the spaces have got to speak in that way. But then also with the biscuits being like such a hot product, man, how do you start to package that and get it on the shelves at, all the big ones? And that really is going to change the game, could potentially change the game, pull through for your product. It's pretty cool.
Yes. And that's actually the plan. Like, I feel like now that we've done this a full year, I said, what is it that's coming through to our customers that I could pivot and actually make more money that's hands off, like that I don't have to do too much to gather money? And my husband said, every review we look at, like our rating on Google right now is 4.9.
Wow.
So in every review that someone mentions our biscuits.
Wow.
So I was like, oh, well, I think this is it,
Yes, I think there's a message.
Yeah, there's a message. And so recently I actually got the nutrition facts back from a science lab. They have to, because you need nutrition facts and packaging that makes sense in a freezer section. So nutrition facts are back. I got packaging already done as far as the design. And today I actually was in conversation about what that packaging, the company that actually prints the packaging and the process on that. So I'm not far away. I'm running with it. I'm like, I'm just going to run till it's done, So
yes.
Yeah. So
it's not going to be hard. It's just like we talked about. When you're in the lane, it just pulls you. It just pulls you. I kind of feel the same about, recommitting and growing, proven not perfect, right? You get to a space where you start to get pulled into divergent competing priorities, and then those just don't produce goodness. And then when you start to go back to what you were told and shown you need to do, it all starts to, even those things start to, feel better.
That's true. I mean, initially we were open from 11 to 3. The hours for some of our customers were a little strange, but I was like, I have a family. I have to leave the restaurant at 3:00 to pick up my children. I'm like, there's no other way this is going down. Like, you know what I'm saying? So
yes.
I try and keep, even though we're busy and people want things as far as catering and that sort of thing, I have to say no sometimes because I have to put my family first. I'm like, I love what I do when I'm in the kitchen, but then outside of that, I'm still a mom and I'm still a wife. I have to cook and clean like everybody else does, So,
yes. But that's the beauty. And that's quite frankly why I was like, you know what, Lauren, we've got to talk in the Proven Not Perfect community room, because most of this community is driven women who have a passion and love for a thing alongside a passion and love for their family, alongside deep faith, right? An expectation for many things. And the challenge for many people is weaving in together that passion for the thing and the passion for family. And I was so inspired by watching you and learning more about your story, where you've literally woven these things together. And man, to create the boundary that says, I'm not going to allow fear to tell me that I have to strike with how customers want this business today, right? No, your boundary is your commitment to being in the home and getting all the things done. and business just weaves into that. And it's happening, and you're still growing, right? Like you're not changing that boundary. I think that's beautiful. How do you see it that way? Or is this just by accident that this is happening? Are you trying this?
Well, I see it that way, I think, because like the prayer is to always make sure that I'm honoring God, right? So I think he helps me to leave that process. Because I feel like, I know people are going to make mistakes, right? But if I can like try my best to not make mistakes that are detrimental to our family or even to the business, um, by asking for help, as far as like praying and asking the Lord to help me see what am I supposed to be doing. Whatever I do, help it honor him, right? Because that's our goal in life. If we are Christians, like we're supposed to honor him in everything that we do. And so even though like at one point my husband was like, we should move the time to 7 o'clock. People are wanting you to be open longer. I was like, honey, I can't do that. I'm like, how can I do that if I got to be home with Savannah's only 4. She's not a teenager. If she's in school, she's done at 3. She needs to see me. I'm like, I can't be at the restaurant till 7 o'clock. It's impossible. So there's challenges, right? So there's always someone saying, oh, you should be doing this and you should be out letting people know who you are. And I'm like, to me, I don't feel like it's necessary. Not yet. Maybe later. But I'm like, I said, what I do, like my product is what people need to see, not me yet, until the kids get older and I know they're okay, then maybe I'll have more time for that. But right now, I just don't think it's the time.
Girl, I'm going to tell you, this right here has just blessed so many people because that's the thing. We get impatient.
Yes.
We get impatient. We get this vision and we want to go. And we believe that if we don't go at that pace, we're going to miss out. We're going to lose. It's going to close up. That window's going to close. I even hear people say that, right? Even some Christian leaders say that, when it comes to you, you got to do it now or else, somebody else will be inspired and it'll be done. But I actually rest very similar to where you are. If it's yours, right? And even if you are the 9,999th person to do it, you've never done it.
Right.
It's never been your touch, your unique touch, your voice, your placement. And so now it's just a matter of how do we stay still and patient and let it come in the process and the time that it should. Girl, that's a whole lot of word to keep and to pray. Mm-hmm.
But I think having like any mom or wife, if you have a lot going on at night, you really need to take time to pray. Like that's the one thing that'll help you see things clearly better. Like you're going to have different opinions. Of course, you're going to ask like your family, people that are close to you, what's a good direction to take. But then you have to take all that information in and then pray about it. Say, hey, Lord, like, what should I do? Like, what is the next step? What will make things easier for us, and better? And I think going to him with all the information you have from other people helps you to guide you where you need to go. Like I think that's important.
I'm doing a lot of sitting still too, because, I used to approach that prayer time from a place of like, here's my list and blah, 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 blah. And what I have come to really appreciate in the season that I'm in is when I go and sort of sit in that space of prayer with no list, but just stillness and welcoming, and obedience, I feel that I really get poured into and the conversation starts to happen with my soul. You know what I mean?
Yes.
The list is important too. We all have specific things that we're praying for, but I feel like, there's sort of 2 times of day, right? There's that time where I've got that list and there's that time where I'm just sitting and I'm receiving with no noise, with no, just listening and receiving,
Right. And I think that's important because otherwise, how do you receive his peace? Like if you're not sitting, right? If you're not receiving, because that's important. Otherwise, you can't get through the day or the next thing. Yeah. So that's really important.
Well, Miss Lauren, this has been such a beautiful conversation. I am sure that the folks in the community have really been blessed by your words. Even the way you speak, the harmonious confidence and courage, just peacefulness, girl. It just radiates from you. And you've got 4 babies and a husband and multiple businesses that are in demand and growing. So that is your gift. That is your gift. And thank you for sharing that peaceful space with all of us. We can do it, right? No matter what it is we're trying to do, it can be done. It just takes that faith and conviction and being still and making sure that you're thinking longer than just the short-term goal. You're thinking journey. And that's what I think you do so well.
Oh, thank you so much, Mantra. Yeah. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Awesome. So good to have you. I'll see you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.